Hey, looks like we're live.
We are live. No John this week.
Yeah, so this is the Josh and Chuck show. It's nice when we have guests on the show, like Derek or John. Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up in Josh's world?
Oh man, this has been an interesting week. Well, for one thing, it was my birthday, so that was fun.
Yay! How
So
old are you now? 15?
I'm actually 37. So
Whew,
yeah,
37.
yeah, it's
That is
always
freaking. Oh, that's how old I am. Never mind.
it's always amusing to like whenever somebody on my list finds out how old I am. They usually freak out because they think I'm like 25. So
Nice. Yeah, we'll be the same age for an entire, what, month and a half? 2
nice.
months?
So your birthday's in November or
December.
December?
December. I guess it's longer than 2 months, but yeah.
Very
I
cool.
think John's the baby in this group.
Yeah, yeah. His birthday's. I'd have to go look. I think it's in July.
Yeah,
But
I think he's a year or two younger than we are.
no, he and I are almost the same age. So
Oh, you
I
are.
think yeah, I think it's the same year. He's just actually wait no, that would make him older than me. I think yeah, I think his birthday is like a couple like a month or two before mine. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Anyway.
so that was fun. But the oh my goodness. So so mad at this idiot. So all right. So I get it was I think this happened on Monday. It was Monday or Tuesday. I get it's like first thing in the morning. I get a message from John, and
hmm
he's like, "Uh-oh, go take a look at the book page at the Kindle book." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and I looked at the page and I didn't notice anything wrong. And then I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "The book's not for sale." I was like, "What are you talking about? It says it right there." Well, over in the corner it says this title not available for sale. And I was like,
Why?
"What?" So we're like frantically. Oh yeah. So what happened was we got an email. I sent an email out to the whole list saying, "Hey, go buy the book." And then we get an email back saying, "Hey, the book's not available for sale."
Oh man.
What's going on? So then John digs through his emails and he finds an email from the Kindle KDP publishing team,
hmm
and it says your book has readers have reported errors with your book, so we have helpfully taken it down.
Helpfully.
Yeah, we have taken it down so that you have the opportunity to correct these errors. Okay, so we're like freaking out. So I had known. So what happens is when you have a book, people can report errors through the Kindle or the Kindle app. And so we had like 2 or 3 error reports come in, and they were for typos. Like one of them was John used the term frag, like in a video game, like frag somebody.
hmm
He used that term, and he spelled it with 2 G's, and somebody reported that, right? And then there was a couple. There was like one case where we had the word then instead of than, like the e instead of the a.
hmm
And then there was one other one that was really minor. It was like maybe a word out of place or something like that. And so what happens is you get these emails whenever somebody reports it. You get an email, and they just sort of like stack up. So
hmm
I over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks, we'd gotten those 3 typos that I mentioned. Well,
Right.
so apparently some idiot downloaded the book and was reading it, and in chapter like this is my take on what happened. I'm not 100% sure this is what happened, but this is my take. So okay, so he's reading the
I'm
book.
laughing with you, not at
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So he's reading the book, right? And in chapter, like we have links, we have tons of links in the books. So rather than the way that we decided to manage that was rather than have all the links go directly to the pages, like to the
hmm
external sites and stuff, we take readers to a central page that is like a list of it's like a master list of every link in the book.
Right.
And we even have anchor links set up so that when they click a link from chapter 11, it jumps them down to chapter 11 links.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so it's like designed to be pretty easy to use. Well, this guy clicks a link, goes to that page, and then goes back to the Kindle app and reports the link broken. Probably, I don't know why. Maybe just because it took him to, a page he wasn't quite expecting. But it was like, we've had over 10,000 or 12,000 people now buy this book, and nobody's had any problems. Okay, but this guy.
Some people are special.
So this guy, this guy was special for sure. He clicks the link, he goes to that page, he goes back to the app, reports the link broken, keeps reading, read, comes to the next page, clicks the link.
Oh no.
Goes to the page, right? Goes back, reports it broken. And he reported like 7 or 8 links broken. And it was like, I'm almost positive it was him, because they report they tell you like the location in the book, and it was like location 102, which is, these are like pages basically. Location 102, location 107, location 108, and it was like, like, you moron! You went to this page like 10 times and you couldn't figure out how it works. And then I got to about 6 or 7 links, and then they took our book down because it was just like the reports were just piling up really fast, and they all, I'm positive it had to be this one guy, because they all kind of came in on the same day. Like, it wasn't like we got reports streaming in over a couple weeks. It was like all the same day, and then bam, they just took the freaking thing down. So
helpful.
Yeah. So John and I like are in panic mode I think this was Tuesday, all day Tuesday. No, this was Monday. Yeah. So John, like, so I'm like, okay, well, we got to fix the landing page that they're going to. So John's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it like even more idiot proof. Like, it's going to say, like, we reworded the headline. So it just says master list of links. And then it says, this page contains all the links from the book. Like, the links are here. Click the, it's like,
okay.
Click links. And then, so we updated the landing page, and then we got we contacted our designer, our book designer, and had her do fix those couple minor typos that were in the book. And so this was like a mad scramble on Monday. And then basically, we published the book, and we're like, okay, this disaster averted, right? Because the book's not available.
Right.
So what's happening is not only are we losing sales, we're losing ranking. Yeah. Because the ranking is relative to everything else.
Right. And
to the other books. And if it's not available for sale, obviously you're not making any sales. So so our ranking's like slowly dropping. We were around 4,900 to 5,100 was kind of where we were floating, like overall in the Kindle store.
Right.
So so we got our designer. She came into the office late. She's over in the UK, and she came in late to make the changes for us, and we upload it. We're like, oh, so it takes about 8 hours to publish, because apparently Amazon has like all these little hamster wheels that have to spin, and it takes 8 to 12 hours for the hamster to run through the maze and spin all the hamster wheels and publish the whole thing. So we go through the whole republishing process, and then we check the book page. This title not available for sale. Like, what? God. So we ended up republishing it again one more time, and then it still didn't come up. So now we're like into Wednesday. So the book has been basically not for sale now for like 48 hours. And so John emails KDP, and he's like, what is going on? What are you doing to me? Why will this book? Because the email said all you have to do is republish, and it'll go live. And then so they reply, and they do the classic. So if you notice the classic customer service thing, there's some training somewhere where they're trained to repeat back exactly what you've told them. And it's like, I understand that you are very frustrated that your book is not available for sale, blah, 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 blah. And it's like they're basically rewording the email that you sent them. And they're like, I understand how frustrating this is. And then they're like, we have forwarded this on to our technical team, and they will they will review it and get back to you within 48 hours. We're like,
Yeah.
no, you've got to be kidding me. No. So, you know, meanwhile, our ranking is dropping. I keep checking and it's like 15,000 and it's 16,000. And finally, finally this morning, somebody on the technical team got up and used the cattle prod on the right hamster and got it working. And we're back up. So now we've dropped from 4,900 to 21,000.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to recover from that. I think we will. It might just, we're going to probably try to do some kind of promotion. The other thing is Amazon had told us that they're considering doing a Kindle daily deal for the book. So if they do that, we could potentially sell a whole bunch of them, like maybe 5 or 10,000. So, and that should put us back up there again. But oh, good grief, it was so lame. I can't. It's like this is the problem. I mean, like this book is not our business, right? That's why this is not this. That's why this is funny.
Right.
People that are trying to use Amazon, this kind of crap. Like if you try to do Amazon, like private label stuff and sell stuff on Amazon, it's just, you're really living at their whim. Wow. But yeah, so that was very frustrating. This isn't a cool tip for anybody that has a book on Amazon. We discovered that there's a hack that works for now. This is a great example of a tactic that works for a while and probably won't work forever. But Amazon is very aggressive with their pricing, the way that they change so they let you set for the CreateSpace book, we set a suggested price of $49.99. We had it set to $29.99, and we were getting a royalty out of that of about $7. Okay. What we realized was that we were looking at some other books, and John noticed that they were priced all the way up to $49.99, and Amazon had discounted them to $27, which is exactly where they had discounted our book to. So they dropped our book from 29 to 27. They dropped these other books from 49 to 27. Well, the thing is that where you set your price determines your royalty.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So we set ours all the way up to $49, and now instead of making $7 a book, we're selling at the same price and we're making $20 a book.
Right.
So we like more than doubled our profit. And I don't know if that works if you don't have a sale, like enough of a sales volume, or like how the algorithm works. But if you have a book on Amazon, it's worth trying. So we might actually try the same thing with the Kindle at some point, where we price it at like, $30 or $40, and then see what they bring it down to. So, but yeah. So anyway, that was fun. The other thing I've been dealing with is the trying to. I have a lot of empathy for people who are trying to sell books on Amazon with relatively small audiences, because I actually have an email from somebody that I need to get back to, who she's got like a 10,000 person email list, and she writes fiction, and she's having a hard time like getting people to actually buy the book. Like they are really engaging with her emails and stuff. But so I've been sending out emails to pitch the book here for the last week or two, and it is astonishing that you can send like 250,000 emails and not move the needle at all. Like
oh wow, I
couldn't even tell. Like if you looked at the sales reports in Amazon, I couldn't even tell. I mean, I'm sure I sold a few, but it was like, it was like, you expect to sell maybe like 10. You send an email to 50,000 people, you think 10 or 20 books or something, but yeah, it was like crickets. So Yeah, I think part of the problem is that Amazon is such a noisy environment.
Yeah,
So
that's probably true. I mean, they
you,
sell freaking everything.
yeah, you send people there, and like you've got, it's not like sending them to a shopping cart, your own shopping cart. You've got, there's a gazillion other books mentioned on your book page, and I see there's this one guy that has this it's book called the something, the self-made programmer or something like that, and we consistently sell his book. We can see it in our affiliate report. It's like,
Oh, right, because they have
yeah,
your affiliate link to your book,
yep, and then they
and then
go and
they
buy
wind up buying
his.
his.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, between that and cracking the coding interview and then Uncle Bob's books, um, we definitely moved some books, but just not ours. Yeah, so it's not easy. I mean, I have some ideas. I think what I need to do, I think the biggest problem with selling books on Amazon is that there's no scarcity. Like there's no reason to buy it today versus waiting.
Right.
And so we're going to try to come up with some way to engineer some scarcity for the book. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is have my campaign set up so that I'm pushing people to go look at the book sales page on our site. So the one I did for the launch. And then once they hit that, I'll have a drip trigger. And the next day, or maybe a couple days later, they'll get a limited time offer for some kind of bonus that they can get if they buy it now. So because we can't really change the price on Amazon,
Right.
or give coupons or anything, but we can potentially offer a bonus that they have to, like, kind of like a buy the book and email us your receipt kind of thing. So I'm gonna try that. But yeah, it's kind of disheartening because I realized like we're not really, like, the sales we get, I think, from the book are all coming from Amazon, which is great. But I really want to be able to sell it to our audience too, because that's how we keep the visibility high on Amazon and keep it ranked well.
Right.
So if we can't move books from our marketing, that's not good. So I've been beating my head against the wall on this one, and I'm determined. Like I'm grimly determined to figure this out. It might be worth. If I figure out a way to do it, it will probably be something that will be worth sharing. So, but
Well, I hope
yeah,
you
it's
figure it out.
easy. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else interesting that happened this week. It's been kind of low key. Oh, I've been moving all of our products over from getting us off of Zaxa, the horrible.
The saga continues.
Yeah. So, well, so it's actually just a matter of time now. It's because we've got 8 products, and I have to basically rebuild the funnels for each of them. But we're actually getting fairly close. I'm still really happy with ThriveCart, which Rob Connery had actually recommended to us.
That runs on WordPress on top of WooCommerce?
No, so ThriveCart is actually just a third-party shopping cart, and they don't offer any. They work with other content delivery platforms like Teachable. We're using it with Digital Access Pass. To do like a membership site. There's no way to, it's not like the DPD where they give you a way to distribute the files.
Right.
It's like you have to bring your own system. So yeah, I got the membership sites all set up with all the courses now, and so I've got basically just have to the ThriveCart.
Yeah.
It's just thrivecart.com, I think.
No, I mean your cart in particular.
Oh, yeah, go to here, I'll throw a link. But it's you see, so simpleprogrammer.com/product/create-blog, I think. Should bring you to one of the, this is the blog, the creative blog product that we have. And then if you click add to cart, you can see what it looks like. But yeah, ThriveCart is definitely pretty awesome. The thing I'm really loving about it, here, I'll throw the link in the thing I'm really loving about it is it has a really good test mode. So you can just put your product into test mode. And I bought the product in test mode like probably 50 times while setting it up. And I was able to walk through the entire funnel with the upsells and everything. And it's great because a lot of this stuff is I set up Google Analytics conversion tracking, so we can see in Google Analytics like the money, the sales coming in.
Oh, nice.
And then also drip, with our tracking in drip. And testing this in Zaxa, what we had to do was, and actually I think DPD was the same way, you had to buy the product and then refund it.
Yep.
It's so lame. So, but Zaxa, or ThriveCart lets you go into test mode, and you can do the entire thing, and it just doesn't process the transaction. You put in fake, it auto-populates fake data,
Right.
fake credit card data for you, and you can bulletproof your tracking that way. I mean, I seriously went through this like 50 times, and I feel really confident now in these funnels. Like before, it was always like, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea if it's going to work, because Zaxa was just so well. And Zaxa actually did something tricky where they'd put your tracking code on an intermediate page. So you'd do the checkout, and then the user would hit this other page where the tracking code would run, and then they'd get redirected. And so the tracking code wouldn't always fire on that intermediate page, and it was really hard to test, as you can imagine. Like, you just have to put like a bunch of console write lines in your JavaScript, and then like just as it gets forwarded on to the next page,
right,
you're like reading all the messages and trying to figure out, okay, did this all work? So it's just horrible. But yeah, this is definitely the best shopping cart like configuration experience that I've had, and I feel really confident in it now.
And so you just have what was it? Digital Access Pass installed on Simple Programmer?
So, yep, Digital Access Pass on Simple Programmer. And then basically there's a integration within ThriveCart where you just say, I want to use a membership site. How do you want to deliver your files? I want a membership site, and Digital Access Pass is one of the options. And then you just punch in the product number, which is like 8 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then it just forwards it on to Digital Access Pass and says, hey, you got a product or a purchase, email address, josh@simpleprogrammer.com, product ID 8, give them access to how to market yourself.
So what if they don't have an account on simpleprogrammer.com?
It creates one. Digital Access Pass creates a membership.
And emails them and says, set up your password?
Yeah. Nice. So far, the only issue that we've had is that sometimes people don't get the emails, which is just called the internet. Like a lot of people don't realize that 15% or so of emails just vaporize and never make it through. And there's really not much you can do. And that's like kind of the best case scenario. People like John and I have talked about, do we want to like build, have our own privately hosted email software? Because there's some options out there, and I'm like, I really don't want to do that, because then you're in the business of doing the deliverability and maintaining your own domain reputation.
Yep.
And I think that's what we're seeing with these emails, is that occasionally, maybe we're probably sending out several hundred a week, and we're getting a couple back, people saying, hey, I never got my email.
Right.
And in some cases, like, I'll resend the email and they still won't get it. So that means that usually it's like Hotmail or Outlook.com. They seem to be really aggressive with their filtering. So it never even hits the spam boxes. It just disappears. So. But I mean, so they're emailing them. So one thing I'm not crazy about with Digital Access Pass is it does email out the password. But it's one that the system generates and you can't really change it. So it's not like the user could use it for anything else. It's like it's a security breach technically, but because the passwords are stored in plain text, obviously, but it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. So yeah, I don't really care if somebody steals your membership.simpleprogrammer.com account. Like, worst case scenario is they become a more educated developer. So
yeah. So it's all at membership.simpleprogrammer.com.
Yeah, that's where all the products are going to be, and it shows what you have, and then it shows all the courses you don't have access to yet. So we've been getting some support requests from people going, "Hey, I bought How to Market Yourself, and I can see it, but I don't have access to it." That's just because I haven't done the bulk import yet to bring everybody over. But yeah, I'm very. Oh, the other cool thing is that once you get one product set up and you're pretty confident in it, you can, well, two things. So if you have trouble with the funnel, you can do a one-click copy. You can copy the entire funnel, put it into test mode, and then basically test your production, your production funnel in a test configuration without taking your main product offline, which is super, super nice. So that's really nice. And then you can copy, like I said, you can copy products, so you can kind of set up the first one. So it took me seriously probably 5 days to get the first product set up, and then I set up the second one in an hour. And it would have been even less time, but creating the upsells is a bit of a pain because I have to create standalone pages on our site for the upsells. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. But otherwise, yeah, it's been, I'm really happy with the setup. So highly recommended.
Does Thrivecart allow you to set things up so people can do payments?
Yep. Yeah. So one thing that I just realized yesterday about that is that so you can do payments. Zaxo let you do multiple price points where you could have payments or a lump sum. I think what I'm going to have to do in Thrivecart is have two different products, essentially, and one of them will be the multi-pay, and one of them will be the lump sum. I think I can't do just one product with both pricing options, unfortunately.
Right. Huh.
But
I might have to look at this because the way I have things set up is MemberPress on devchat.tv, and it's just turned into this big mess.
Yeah, I looked at MemberPress and I felt like it was it wasn't, it felt like a shell, like an authentication shell that needed more to it. Digital Access Pass is it gives you products. It gives you a way to sell products. MemberPress would let you do that, but you were kind of on your own to build it.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal if you have one thing to sell, but we have 8 products already and we're going to have a lot more. So building that becomes, and maintaining it. I was starting to feel like it was going to be, multiple days to set up a product in MemberPress. And yeah, you can do it, but it's super painful.
Well, the other thing is that I could also then, with the conferences and stuff, because I just like to move all of that over to members.devchat.tv. And so then if they go to AngularDevSummit.com, which was the last one, or Ruby Dev Summit's coming up in a couple of weeks, they click the link and it just takes them to Thrivecart, signs them all up, and then takes them over to members.devchat.tv and says, okay, here's how you access everything.
Right. Yep, that's how we have it working. So
nice.
Thrivecart is nice. It's like $500, but it's I think that they're still running this. It's a lifetime access type of deal. So we were paying $500 a year for Zaxa. So this is cheaper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it.
Cool.
There's going to be a few things I missed from Zaxa. Like the reporting in Zaxa was not great, but there were some things that, like, one thing that was really slick was they would let you see the products. They had like a report where you could look at the products, and then you could see the upsells with the products and like what the conversion rate was with each step.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't found anything like that in ThriveCart yet, but otherwise I'm liking it.
Cool.
And they're very aggressively developing it too. It's a new product, so it hasn't yet. It seems like every shopping cart product has like 2 years of intense development, and then it languishes for 10 years, and nobody does anything with it. So they're still in that 2 year. It's like this one's has all the features I want already, and it's still in that 2 year honeymoon phase before they just abandon it and leave it to die on the roadside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So how's your world going?
I got my water main fixed yesterday.
Oh, sweet.
I left it all kind of uncovered to make sure that nothing was leaking before I buried it again. And the part of it that's right by my house is definitely not leaking. Under the water meter, it looked a little bit wet, but I'm not sure if that's just because, we dumped a bunch of water in there yesterday or not. So I'm probably going to let it sit for the afternoon. And then if it still looks wet, then I'll get down there and actually see if it's got to be a really slow leak, though, if it's leaking at all.
Okay. Did you find a big hole?
No, I couldn't actually find the hole in the pipe. I just replaced a section of pipe, and it's not leaking anymore.
Sweet.
So, yeah. So that's nice. And then, yeah, I've got a few other things going on. I read a book called Profit First.
Yes.
And so I went and implemented that. So I set up all the bank accounts for that and started moving money around. Of course, he says, now don't go straight to the target allocation percentages. And so, of course, I went straight to those allocation percentages. We'll see what happens. I'd rather just adjust from there. And I feel like if I can get a couple more of these sponsorship deals to close, then it won't make a difference anyway.
Okay. So tell me how you have this set up. I'm very curious.
So the way that they tell you to do it is you have 5 accounts.
Okay.
You have your income account, which is where all the money comes in. And then you have a profit account where you pull your profit out first. That's why it's called Profit First.
Right.
You actually just, so the percentages for my business, since I'm under $250,000 a year, is essentially it's 5% profit, 50% to owner's pay. And he encourages you to set a salary. So then if your salary is less than that 50%, then you just, that just piles up, and then you can pay yourself bonuses and stuff. But anyway.
So it ends up being 55% kind of is.
Yeah, but the owner's pay is your salary, right? That's what you live on. And then the profit, he wants you to treat like a bonus or extra, so you go do something fun with it and enjoy it. And so anyway, that's kind of a fun idea. I like that idea because then it's like, hey, we got a profit distribution from the business, so let's go on a trip or whatever. And then I think it was 30% goes to like the operational expenses for your business.
Right.
And then the other 15% is taxes.
Okay.
And anyway, so yeah, so I allocated that. And then I also set up another account, and he says, do profit first for two quarters before you do anything advanced. Well, sorry. Once again, I'm breaking the rules. He mentioned that you can set up a drip account, which is money that you got paid now that you need to sit on for whatever reason. So if you get paid for future work or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So for me with the sponsorships, like I got a sponsorship for 4 months, so I just Of course, I used half of that payment to just get everything caught up because things had
Right.
slowed down, and then the other half of that I just crammed into that drip account.
Right.
And so yeah, that's that. So that's just sitting there, and then what happens is then what you do is you move it in, you move whatever chunk of it you're going to into the um income account, and then you distribute it
Right.
on
Right.
the, and he says to distribute the money on the 10th and 25th. So
Okay.
that's the plan. So
I like that.
so
I like the
anyone,
drip account idea because we kind of have, so we sort of do that in our accounting. So we had a situation like we're still, so I don't remember if we've talked about this on the air, but we're doing okay, but we're in like month to month a little bit of a cash crunch situation because we had to, so when I came on board, John had to empty out the bank account because it was
right.
like owner equity kind of thing, and he'd actually put a bunch of money in at some point, so he was taking that back out. So we started July with like basically a zero balance on everything.
Right.
And that was during the book launch, so we had like book launch expenses and stuff. So we haven't quite, and then sales have been slower, hopefully seasonally slower for us for the last 2 months. So we've been in this situation where it's been like, okay, we haven't have to hit payroll. I think so. And our we got our report for the last month for August, and it looked like we'd made like a $17,000 profit beyond our expenses, and we were like, why is our bank account not really reflecting that? And then we realized, oh, sponsorships. So like we'd had sponsorships, like 4,000 of that was from a big sponsor who shall remain nameless, who no longer is working with us, who Chuck knows.
Is that a sponsor that shall remain nameless that's no longer working with me either?
Yes, that same sponsor. Yes.
Okay.
So
see, we can be discreet on this show when we really want to.
Right. The sponsor is Bubba Inc.
Bubba
Bubba
I love
Inc. And yeah, so
my code for that, like when I do my hiring courses and stuff, is Big Co. So when you go into Big Co and
there you go.
turn in your resume.
Yeah, there you go. So we realized that like maybe six to eight of that 17,000 number, like that was earned on paper, but we actually got the money. The money actually came in before John drained the bank account. So not only was it like not earned in the month, it was earned like and taken out. So we have we have cash flow. So we do almost entirely cash-based accounting, but then like the sponsorship stuff, we do kind of put that in the months where it was earned.
Right.
But yeah, so that was like, oh, okay, well, I feel better now. So we need to get, like, really our big goal here is we want to get a nice buffer in place so we don't have to worry about this in the future, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean that's another part, that he talks about a little later in the book is that and he tells you to move your tax account and your profit account to another bank so that you won't spend it, right? You won't see it there when you get in a cash crunch and say, oh, but there's money right there.
Right.
And I haven't done that yet. So
yeah.
I just have the money sitting in those accounts. One thing that was interesting though is that 15% when I pulled the money over this time, it was actually more than enough to cover, because I do monthly payments for my taxes because I file as an S corp, and so it's essentially withholding is what it is. And that 15% for the first half of the month was almost enough to cover that entire payment. And so I will probably have a chunk of change sitting in the tax account when taxes come around next year. And so then if I have to pay out, I have to pay out. And if I don't have to pay out, then Chuck gets a bonus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So anyway.
This is not the kind of bonus that people get from the government where they think, yay, I got a tax refund, where you really just given the government an interest-free loan for a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the government giving your money back.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going, yay, you should be going, you bastards. Anyway.
You should probably be saying that anyway, either way.
Yeah, well, anyway, I won't go into that, but anyway, so I got that all set up. One thing though that he also talks about is cutting your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he encourages people to do is you start where you are and you increase your allocations to each of these accounts by 1%, or 2%. And so then you work up to these target allocations because you have your current allocations
start where
right
you
now.
are. Okay, yeah.
And so your current allocation to profit is probably 0 if you haven't been doing this, right? You just kind of distribute when you distribute. And so and then he says, look, you increase your tax by 1 or 2, your profit by 1 or 2, and what you're doing is you're taking the hit on your operating expenses. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, look, you need to go in and cut your operating expenses by 10%. And so I've been looking at that and trying to figure out where I can make those cuts. And I've cut a whole bunch of expenses already just because, things got really tight. And I'm like, what can I not have to pay for here?
Right.
And I have a few things, but one of the things that I have considered putting on the chopping block is, and I talk about firing people all the time on the show, but I have this guy in Philippines, and he does work for me, but I have a really hard time keeping track of what he's working on. Mm-hmm. And John told me to have him send me, a report at the end of every week, and I've asked for that for a couple of weeks, and he just hasn't done it. And
he's gone.
And so I'm really thinking, you know what? The thing is if I cut him, I like the guy, and he does work that I don't particularly want to do myself. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there are a few things that play into this, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about it. So and that it's not just about the money, because it's not. Right. But yeah, so essentially, I've been working with this project manager to just figure things out as far as roles, like who does what, like, what jobs are there in the company and who's doing them. And in this case, if I get rid of him, everything but podcast editing, show notes, and posting will be me.
Right.
If he goes, because he's the last not Chuck that's doing work in the company except for Eric. But the flip side is that then what I can do is I can actually sit down and work through some of the processes that I wanted him working on that I'm not getting reported on. And so I always wonder if it's getting done.
Yeah.
I can work out those processes. I can streamline them. I can automate parts of them.
Well, there's some,
and then I can hire somebody to do the pieces of it that I.
Yeah.
And I can just say, look, I only need you a couple hours a week, and I need you doing that job.
Right.
And then I want you to report in at the end of the week. And then once they've shown, hey, look, I can be consistent, I can do this work, and I'll report in at the end of the week, then I can go, you know what? I have this other role that I need filled too. Yes. And since you seem to have time, why don't you take this other role on too?
Yep.
And so, on we go. And then the other thing is that I can get all of these processes documented in Confluence and make sure that I'm doing all of that work so that it's just right there, right? And then they can just take it on from there. So
there's a healthy aspect of this too, which is I'm kind of going through this a little bit myself, because my guy that I really want to work with forever, Aaron, he told me a couple months ago that he's going to be done like in November, basically. Mm-hmm. It's like I can't. He's in college, in university, and he can't keep doing he's not doing any freelancing anymore. So basically, it's forcing me to, he was doing maybe it wasn't much. It was maybe an hour, a couple hours a week for me. But I was, now that I'm having to bring all this stuff back in house, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not even going to bother with that anymore. Like I had him posting all of my emails on Medium. Mm-hmm. Complete waste. I mean, Medium is a wasteland and has gotten me virtually no traffic. I had him posting.
It's funny because it's so popular.
It is popular. There's it's kind of an echo chamber. There's
Yeah.
There's a few things, like there's a very few things that are popular on it, and then everything else, like it's a ghost town. Programmers are like, programming is probably the one niche. Programming and social media marketing are the two niches where I've seen where like you can actually get a decent amount of traffic. But
Yeah.
well, and like just generally politics and that sort of stuff. But yeah, so like that's just not worth continuing. But I'm being forced to make that decision now because he's not going to be doing it for me.
Right.
For the next person I work with, I'm just not going to have them do the Medium stuff. Same thing with they were posting stuff on Quora as blog posts, and it's the same deal. Like I've gotten nothing for it, so
Right.
just kill it. So it kind of forces you to cut your expenses there too. Like what are you doing now? Like the show notes is a great example, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had, that's actually a real blessing, because if you hadn't had to reevaluate that process because of the flakiness you were dealing with, then you would have kept doing this heavyweight process, which you really didn't need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing that's funny about it is like I went and checked on, and I know Eric's going to be listening to this, but I went and checked on the show notes, and of course I look at them, and the first thing that goes through my head is, oh, I could have done that better. But the flip side of it is that I'm the programmer, I'm the subject matter expert, and he's not. And so then I look at it and I'm like, does this have what the listener needs in order to A, evaluate what the episode's about, and B, find the links to all the stuff that they're interested in? Yeah, pretty much. So, so then I'm like, I'm happy with it. But yeah, and that's the other thing that I just kind of have to learn to let go of is I could have done this better. Well, of course I could have done this better because I know exactly what I want.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what? And so it's the same thing with a lot of this other stuff, and just working through it and figuring it out. But yeah, I'm probably going to let him go. I'll probably I always struggle with this too, and that is when I let somebody go, I always feel like I need to just let them go, right? If you give them notice and blah blah blah, it just
right.
And so, but I don't want to just like cut him off, and so I'm probably gonna pay him for another week and say, hey, look, you know what? Here's a week's notice, but the notice is that I'm letting you go now, and I'm giving you another week's pay. So you're not out of luck, and then hopefully you can find something else. And
I feel like if John was here, he would have a very good reason for you to not do that.
I know he's telling me not to do that, but
I would say, to me, I'm more of a nice guy than John, so that sounds like a pretty good plan to me. I would definitely make sure. I like the idea, because when somebody has a significant amount of access, you kind of have to cut them off immediately and change all the passwords and everything, and it's kind of unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it has to work.
Yeah, but then I can get all these processes in line, and then I can, once I have it pretty much to the point where, somebody could just come in and just, automatically pick up those parts, then I can do that. And then the thing is, if I'm paying somebody, because I could probably pay somebody in his position, an hourly rate to do some of the stuff that he was, or, that he was doing, or that I need done, but yeah, then I can slowly ramp back into, so instead of paying him what I'm paying him, which is about $600 a month, I can slowly get back into, okay, now I'm paying somebody about $100 a month to get just, this kind of critical work done. And then, I can, okay, now I've got this other area that I need to expand to. But the other thing is then, hopefully by then I'm going to be chasing some of these other more profitable areas. And so it'll be a lower percentage of my overall operating expenses.
Right.
And so the 10% cut won't be as deep, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that's one thing. And I figured you'd probably encourage me to let him go.
I've run into this a bit with when you have contractors at your disposal. there's a tendency to like make work, you know, like things that you wouldn't necessarily do. And I have this tendency too. Things that are like low priority that you wouldn't necessarily even do. It's like, well, I've got this person, you know,
Yeah.
I want to like keep them busy, so I'll just give them. Well, and then what happens is like invariably they don't understand. Like there's some the project turns into something a lot bigger than, and you have to be involved anyway. And now it's sucking your time and costing you money.
Yep.
When it probably shouldn't have even been done at all. But
yeah. So anyway, so that's where I'm at with that. And then yeah, just a lot of this other stuff is yeah, just getting these processes together and really nailing it down. I had a call this morning with Michael. Is it Seidel? Anyway, he emailed us about Pipedrive after our last conversation about CRMs.
Yep.
And so I've been looking at Pipedrive, and I think I'm going to move everything over there. It just has everything that I wish Zoho has had.
Yeah.
The only thing that it doesn't have so far that I can tell, and it might have it and I just haven't found it yet, is basically the blue tick piece.
Like sending out the sequences.
Yeah, sending sequences. And so I may just keep the two tools on together and then just, you know, work that out.
You can always glue them together with Zapier or something.
Yeah,
you know,
and
like
that's what I'm looking at doing.
Do Pipedrive to a certain point and then like, you know, tag them or something and have Zapier pick that up and stick them into Bluetooth. So Bluetooth.
Yeah, stick them into Bluetooth.
Blue tick could be like more of an endpoint versus like where you actually try to manage. That's kind of like how I was thinking of treating it too. Like it's more of a in its current it's great for putting people. It's kind of like what Drip was originally, which was like a tool for sending out email courses. Like that's what Drip was originally designed to do.
Right.
Like just short sequences. So yeah, it seems like it's pretty well set up for that. It's not. There's still a lot missing in terms of managing. Really like kind of managing a database of contacts.
Yeah, and Pipedrive has that here for people and organizations, and it's simple enough to where I'm liking it. So, yeah, and then he actually showed me. So he has a browser plugin that he built that will pull the information out of LinkedIn, and then you just tell it which pieces of information you want to stick into Pipedrive.
I'm waiting for the Microsoft stormtroopers to rappel out of a helicopter and kick his door in and tell him to take down his plugin.
Well, he's the only one using it, and I'm probably going to take it and modify it for my deal. But, you know, because I'm using it to pull the emails out and stuff.
Right.
But, yeah, I'm really digging that. And
I've got a tool for you if you're doing this kind of research. Let me find it. It is called, what is this tool called? Give me 1 second. I have a browser plugin for it. Okay, it's called hunter.io. This is the best tool that I've found for finding email addresses. So basically you put in, there's a few ways to use it. You can put in a,
how much does it cost?
You can use it for free. And then there's like if you hit a certain level of searches per month, I think it's pretty high though. It's like 150 searches a month.
Yeah, it's 100 per month for free, and then you have to pay.
Yeah. And you can do so you can search by domain. You can also like put in a domain and it'll tell you the most common patterns that they use.
Oh, really?
Build names. Yeah. So usually between like a LinkedIn profile and I can usually figure out like what the right address is. And I think there's actually even there's a verification tool where not all servers support this, but they'll ping the server and say, hey, is this a valid email address?
Yeah, I've seen that.
And a lot of servers have it turned off, but a lot of them actually still have it turned on. So yeah, this is a really good tool. It's funny. There's a thing at the bottom of the screen right now. It says, "How likely are you to recommend Hunter to your friends and colleagues?" Well, I think I'll click 10 because I just recommended it to about 2,000 people.
Yeah. 2,000 of our closest friends. Yep.
Yes. So yeah, this is it's a pretty sweet tool, and it's it's actually nice to use too. It's not like a janky, ugly thing. So
nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I've been wanting a tool like this anyway, and
like a email finder.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I've thought about just kind of creating I don't know if I wanted to create like an open source one, but one that I could just like import my inbox into or my contact list out of like Gmail or something into. And but then I wouldn't be sharing the email addresses per se, but then I could have some of the folks that are working with me go in and say, you know what, I'm trying to find like Atlassian, right? I've talked to their folks a few times, and so then if I get contacted by someone from Atlassian or I put somebody on the list from Atlassian, then they can go in and they can, drop the name in and drop in Atlassian, and then it goes through and it says, okay, well, here are the kinds of addresses it has. Or, here's the first name, last name, and email address of some of the people that we have. And that way, it's like don't use this email address, but use the information you have to quickly do a pattern match in your head. And
yeah, there's that tool also I think allows you to do bulk imports. So like you can have a spreadsheet of people that you're trying to track down and throw that in there, and it'll pull in. Yeah, you can't it's like these are likely addresses. You can't usually. Sometimes they'll find like exact matches, or like it'll be in a press release or something if it's a media, like a marketing person or something. But it'll at least give you some place to start.
Yeah, I just signed up for an account.
It's good. And there's a browser tool. Like there's like a browser plugin for Chrome that you can, any website that you're on, you just click it and it's like, here are all the email addresses we found for this.
For this
domain.
person?
For this that domain. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
Nice. So you can search by domain.
You can search by domain. You can search by like.
Can you type somebody's name in and search?
I think so. Yeah, I think you can. That's going to be.
Yeah.
You might need to supply some
enter a full name and the domain name.
Yeah.
Got it.
So.
Yeah, and the thing is like if this turns out to be extremely useful for finding prospects, I think it was $39 a month or something for the starter package, which goes to 1,000. And if I'm searching that much and I'm finding, sponsors and contacts and all that stuff at the level that, it makes sense, then yeah, I'll totally pay for it. But
Did I tell you about I think stop me if I already talked about this, but did I tell you about my realization that that I was like my new screening criteria for companies that I'm going to talk to?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that they have to be at least 250 people. Yeah, because I realized like anything under that and they're just wasting our time. Like they're going to pay $1,000 and then be done. So
yeah.
So I have
to that point, it's a little bit different, but I've also decided that I'm going to take the bronze packages out of my sponsorship prospectus. And I'm probably just going to go to either 6 weeks or 12 weeks.
Yep.
And it kind of has the same effect. I'm also, so one other thing that I'm thinking about is, and I've been talking, or I've been listening to a podcast by Carl Franklin. He's one of the guys on .NET Rocks.
Yep.
It's a different one, but his podcast, I know it's getting, thousands of downloads per episode at this point.
Two keto dudes, is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing that's interesting about it is that like they've said a couple of times, if you want to sponsor, we'll do CPM packages. And I'm just wondering, okay, so how are you splitting up the M's on downloads? And so I'm wondering if there's a way to, because I know that like Libsyn has a deal where they stitch
Yeah,
ads in.
yeah.
And so I'm wondering if there's a way for me to like build my own thing, or, work with somebody to build my own thing, so that, it's like, okay, you want to sponsor JavaScript Jabber, and you want to, you want to pay for 5,000 exposures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get 25,000 downloads per episode.
Right.
And so then people can come in and they can actually afford, okay, we want 5,000 per week for 6 weeks or whatever.
For that, in my opinion, for that to make sense, you have to make it extremely self-serve, like, because that's like the low end of the market, right? That's like, so you have to, it has to be completely automated, or it's just going to be complete nightmare.
Yeah, if I did that at that point, what I would probably do is I would probably make it available on the mid-roll, not the pre-roll.
Okay.
And yeah, what I would do is I would actually then, and this is if I have trouble filling those spots, right? Which so far is, if I'm out there prospecting, it hasn't been a problem. If I'm not out there prospecting, and I guess that's the appeal, right? Is I don't have to spend as much time selling.
Right.
But yeah, then they would have to upload the audio for their ad, and I would have to approve it before it went in.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm still kind of interested just to see what the possibilities are there. I don't know if I want to spend the time building a system that does it though.
Yeah.
But
so I guess how that would work is the iTunes would just point to a dummy file, I guess, right? And then when the request comes in, it gets constructed on the fly.
Not necessarily. They'd probably wind up getting, if they paid for 2,000, they'd probably wind up getting 2,000 and change downloads. But what it would do,
round robin the files, maybe.
No, it would just so the way that the current trackers work anyway, with like if you're working with what are they, PodTrack or Blueberry or any of these, is you tack on their domain with a path onto the front, so it's like podtrack.com / something redirect.mp3 / devchat.t or media.devchat.tv / blah 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 blah. And so then it just redirects through them to me. And so I could just set it up so that when it redirects through my server, it tracks the download and then sends them to the right file. And so once we get to like 1,500 downloads, it goes out and it says, okay, what's the next one? And it builds it.
Right.
And so then it just has the other one up and ready on demand. So then when it hits 2,000, it says, okay, all of you trackers, redirect to the other file now.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty slick. I'm surprised that there's not like an off-the-shelf thing to do that already.
The other thing, though, is that I have, 1,000 or so backlog episodes. And I went on the Facebook group for podcasts. We're going to go over. Sorry, if you need to get off, you can let me know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mentioned on there, I'm like, does anybody do this for backlog episodes? And they're all like, well, the majority of the downloads happen within the first 96 hours. Like Todd Cochran got on and said that. And
yeah, but there's a long tail that's like,
yeah, but if I have thousands of episodes in the backlog,
right,
and and they all get outside of that, that 96 hours, they get
right,
5 or 10,000 downloads. I mean, we're talking about, even if I have 1,000 backlog episodes and they average 1,000 long tail downloads, that's 1 million impressions.
Yeah, it's wasted inventory. I've been saying this for like 2 or 3 years, actually.
Yeah, like that's 1 million impressions every week that I can sell.
Right.
Or 1 million impressions over time.
The way that people do it now is crazy, because a lot of times those episodes have limited time offers in them. So you've got like this basically dead inventory that's not serving listeners well, for one thing. And, it's not doing you any good. It's not making you any money. So
yeah. Well, the other thing is that, a lot of so a lot of the podcasters, when they're selling a sponsorship, they're like, yeah, your ad's in there forever.
Right.
But and that may be a selling point, but most people who are buying ads in podcasts, they know this. They know that most of the downloads happen when it gets released
Right.
within the first,
Right.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're hoping to get in on the timeliness. The backlog effect is interesting, but it eventually goes to zero and they don't care about it.
Right.
And so, that's totally inventory that I can do. The other thing is you make another point, and that is like Ninefold is a hosting company, was a hosting company that sponsored Dev or Ruby Rogues for like 6 months.
Right.
Well, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not even in business anymore. You go to ninefold.com and it's a holding page that says, we're closed. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you really want to see something interesting, go check out our parent company, who's a hosting
Yeah.
company in Australia that really doesn't have a great way of serving the rest of the world anyway.
Right. I mean, this model would bring. Podcasts are so weird. Like, podcast is basically radio, but it's sold like the way that the advertising is sold is not the way it is with radio.
No, not at all.
And so it's like it's sold by episode
Mhm.
versus by by impression.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is there are so many of these little fish out there. They're getting 1,000 or 2,000 downloads per episode, and
Right.
those are the ones that are doing well, right? The place where my podcasts are at, like JavaScript Jabber. I mean, that's extraordinary. Is where that one's at, and Adventures in Angular and Ruby Rogues is still pretty darn impressive where they're at and where they've been in the past.
They're probably all in the top 5% of podcasts out there. I would
imagine. Easily. But the thing is, a lot of these companies, they don't want to go sponsor a show that only has 1,000 downloads per episode. They're not going to pay for 1,000 impressions, and to spend the time to get on the call to negotiate a $50 per episode advertisement. Okay, we'll send you $500 or $300 or $200. It's not even worth their time. And
someone
so if
listening to this should build this.
So if you can sell them on volume, right? And then you turn around and you say, okay, here are kind of the verticals or, even sub verticals, right? So whether it's programmers or web developers, if you're getting more specific, or JavaScript developers or Angular developers or React developers, or however you want to get, narrow it down, in the US, out of the US, whatever, you can start giving them demographics of these audiences and say, you know what, we can put your spot into these deals. But if we did that, the thing is that I would charge a premium if they wanted them to be host read, right? Because then I have to coordinate with all of the podcasters to make sure that the ad goes in and is read properly.
Right.
Or the other thing that they could do is they could just have produced, so they can either pay us to produce the ad, or they could have somebody else produce it, and then we just kind of give the A-OK.
Right.
And then we send the information to the podcaster, and the podcaster can opt out if they don't like it.
Right. So the main problem with CPM advertising that I've seen for podcasts is that it ends up, we looked into this for our podcast, and it's like they pay you pennies. Like it's very bottom of the barrel. What the podcasters can make. Because they're like, I guess, I don't know if it's because they're not doing a good job with targeting or what, but the advertisers that they have are very, very, like, and I think Libsyn's a good example. They're probably paying extremely low CPMs, like, probably like less than $1, where it's not even really worth messing with.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what Libsyn's paying.
But that's just because.
Yeah, but Rob Walsh, he actually got in because I asked specifically about backlog, and he's like, "Oh, Libsyn does this," and I'm like, "Yeah, but do they do it with advertisers that I find?"
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's not the technology of stitching in ads.
Yeah.
It's combining that with the way that you're selling them now. That would be.
Yeah.
Would be pretty, and that I guess you'd have to basically build a whole podcast hosting app, wouldn't you, to do this?
Yeah. Yep.
I think I know somebody that did that one time that ended up shutting his app down.
Yeah, if only I could find that guy. And I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about this. One other thing that is kind of funny about that is that I'm starting to lean much more toward products. I mean, I like doing the sponsorships and it's paying me well, but I want to get some products out there too and kind of mix it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I have considered doing is because I've tried building like the traditional course. Here's the information. Let me walk you through the information. Blah blah blah. Here's how you do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm finding is that the courses that I like to take and the courses that I like to build are more along the lines of here's how you build this thing, right? And so it just walks you through the steps of building an app. And I don't even show you slides. Here are the principles behind this thing. You know, it's hey, look, you know, this is how this works. And yes, there's more to it than this. And here's kind of a 2-second explanation of what we're doing with it. And if you want more information, then here's a link. And, you know, maybe I have like a lower third or something that comes up for a second that gives them a link. And so I think I'm probably going to do some courses that way. And I've thought about building out some of this podcast apparatus for those courses, right? So it's like, here's how you build an Angular Rails, you know, single page app as my product. And then, you know,
I know somebody who built like a media serving platform like this that you might want to talk to.
I should go talk to Derek.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, it's all interesting, and I think there's a huge need for that particular app out there, and I just totally told everybody what it should be. So
yeah, I know. Well, the idea, it's not ideas, it's execution.
Nope, right? It's totally execution.
If somebody wants to build that, I'm sure that you would be happy to use it, not have to build it yourself.
Yes, this is true.
Right. I think somebody should build that because that's a really good, well, okay. So the one caveat in terms, just in thinking about this in terms of, is this a viable business for somebody to build? The one caveat would be you need to make sure that this is something that podcasters actually, once they see it, they're like, I have to have that.
Right.
Because otherwise, but yeah, I think this is the direction that it really needs to go. And it's crazy to me that it hasn't, because it's not a difficult problem to solve, really. Yeah. You know, I mean, you just upload your episodes in multiple segments, and then you know stitch them together. Basically, you could probably use Jenkins or something like that to you know, to do it. And
well, you wouldn't even have to split it up. I mean, if you have the MP3 and you have the exact timestamp where the ad needs to go in.
Oh, okay. You can just stream it together.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
So anyway.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately. But yeah, mostly I'm just trying to get these processes nailed down. And
nice.
Yeah. And then I'm, you know, automating and all of that fun stuff.
I think that budgeting stuff's really going to serve you well. That was like $100,000 an hour work right there. So good on you for getting that done. Yeah,
that's the real thing is that, you know, and we've talked about this in the past, but I'm not going to solve my problems by doing the same thing I've been doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've been out there, you know, finding these things that I need to learn and then just going after it. So I feel like I've kind of had to, you know, strip my business down to the bare metal and build it back up in some ways. But ultimately, I'm going to be better off for it. And the other thing that was interesting about Profit First that I came to the realization of was that if I had found Profit First back when about this same time last year when we were talking about all the issues I was having with my podcast editor back then, I would have realized pretty fast that to meet that profit allocation, I would have had to let her go. Like there was no way I could have kept her. And
yeah, having those percentages is helpful.
Yeah,
because it says like what's reasonable.
Yep. Well, the other thing is that I know that those, you know, those percentages are kind of, you know, general guidelines, right?
Right.
But
a guideline is good because you should be in the ballpark of the guideline. It doesn't have to be exact, but
well, the other issue was that like a lot of the issues that I was having, especially with cash flow and things like that. You know, if I was working off of these target percentages, I would have realized pretty fast that yeah, there was no way I could keep her, and that when John said having that person around is killing your business, he was absolutely right. And I couldn't see it because I liked having that person around and I liked having everything done for me. And you know, anyway, so it's just yeah. So yeah, John, you can tell me I told you so next time we see each other, but you know, it's absolutely true. And now I know, okay, I need to kind of operate in this area a little bit. And the other thing he says is that, you know, that you can change your target percentages as you go. So, I mean, my intention is to stick with the ones that he lines up in the book for a business my size. But, you know, depending on how things go, it's like, oh, well, you know, obviously I could allocate a little more to profit, or I need to be allocating a little bit more to owners' pay so that I can make my salary or whatever. Then I can do that.
We're in a low, one thing is that we're in, our business models are like relatively low overhead. So
yeah,
some of his numbers might be like, if you're running a bakery, right, you're going to have a lot, it's going to be very different than if you're running an online business where like.
Not a ton, because he actually tells you to take what essentially amounts to cost of goods sold, right? So if you have to pay for materials and things like that, or anyway, he tells you to take all that off the top and then allocate.
Okay, so that would
include, if you're buying
like,
materials and crap like that, or
yeah, well, but I mean, if you had a bakery with 3 employees or 2 employees or something, right? Like,
yeah, that goes into operating expenses. Having
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the employees would. Yeah. So.
And I think I think the materials also go into operating expenses, but there were there were certain things that you pulled out first and then you allocated the rest.
Okay.
And so, but since I don't have a brick and mortar business and I don't have employees, you know.
Right.
It was subcontractors and things like that. That's what it was that you pull out ahead of time. Right? Because you're essentially paying somebody else to do the work.
Right.
And so it's whatever you take off the top that you want to count against your income.
Right.
But anyway.
Thoughts?
You know, so I've been reading my, you know, I have 3 or 4 books that I've been repeating every month, right? Is kind of what I've been doing now, just so that I can kind of master the content. And so right now I'm in the middle of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind again. And one thing that he talked about, and one thing that's kind of been coming out of a lot of the other things that I've been reading and just, you know, thinking about, is that you won't get something different unless you change what you're doing, right? The inputs, if you keep putting the same thing in, you're going to keep getting the same thing out, you know. I mean, other people have inputs into some aspects of your life, and so if they put something different in, then you may get a different result. But generally, for most things in your life, it's up to you. And the thing that I'm going to get really way out there philosophically, but I'm going to sound like John, I guess. But anyway,
we need to get our woo-woo in.
I know, right? Yeah. But anyway, so it was interesting because I was talking to a few people, and I heard somebody basically mention that they were addicted to sleeping in. And I just read this book, You Are the Placebo, and he talks a lot about this idea that your body kind of, or your body and your system kind of hits this stasis, right, where it doesn't like to change.
Right.
And you know, our brains and the way we think are a lot the same as well, right? We don't really like to change. We want to get comfortable where we're at. And so when it comes down to that, I mean, the things that you do that are hard to change, you are addicted to those. You're addicted to your habits. And the reason is because your body has optimized for those things. And so when you start trying to do something different, it's hard, right? And you essentially go through the withdrawals of the easy path, moving off into these other paths. And that's also why it's so easy to go back in on the things that you were doing that weren't quite right, is because, again, your system has optimized to that.
Right.
And so, it's kind of like rolling back downhill to go there because it's just automatic. And so it's not just, oh, well, I want to change. Why is it so hard to just do whatever it is that I want to do different? It's that you have momentum the other way. Now it may not necessarily be uphill, but it's greased.
Right.
The slide is greased going down the other track, where
Right.
now you have to actually hike and start building the track in the new place. And that's tough sometimes. And it's definitely going to be harder than what's automatic and easy. And so I guess my thought is that we have to change if we want something different. And every time we do it, it's not going to be easy. And so, you have to do everything you can to optimize your path into that way. And, there are a lot of ways to do that. And so the other book that I just finished for the fourth time is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, right? And he talks about like the 6 things. So it's meditating and affirmations and visioning and exercise and reading and journaling and all of those, with the possible exception of exercise. And exercise still in a lot of ways causes physiological things that reinforce the way that the rest of this works. All of those things are going to be catalysts for change. And so if you're working on those things and you make it easy to envision what you're doing and easy to talk about and affirm what you're working on and make those declarations and meditate and take yourself to the place where those are at and make that strong emotional connection so that you can stick with it, you start to smooth that path a little bit. And that's ultimately, I think, what we're all about, all of us, is that we want to be entrepreneurs, we want to do things better. And so do those things that are going to help make that path smoother and get you further down the way so that you can get where you want to go. And some of the changes that I've been trying to make are hard, but the other thing is that when I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to get up, I am so freaking tired, the next thing that I think is, yeah, well, that's just old me trying to get me back into the ditch where I was. And what, in order to make a change, I have to slog the path and try and smooth it out. And sometimes I'm going to have to try and push some boulders out of my way, and that's just the way it is. But there's nothing inherently right or wrong about the path that I was on before. It's just that this path is better, and I need to make sure that I'm working it now.
Cool. Well,
was that woo-woo enough for you?
Yeah, that was out there. No, actually, not really. So you didn't talk about quantum mechanics or anything, quantum entanglement or anything. So
he does go into that, Joe Dispenza.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No.
In the book.
So I this is kind of actually not what I was planning to say, but kind of related to what you said. There's a saying. I think it comes from programming, but basically that every system is perfectly designed to produce the results that it's producing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like the results, well, the problem is that you've perfectly engineered whatever it is that you're doing to produce that result.
Right.
So for me, an example, so I'm in physical therapy right now for my wrist, which I think I talked about before, which is coming along really well. It's actually quite funny because John is equally skeptical of physical therapy as he is of chiropractic. And I'm sure, were you here for the chiropractic discussion?
I think I missed that one.
Okay. Yeah, that was early on. We had this it was like a 90-minute or like a 2-hour debate about chiropractic. I've had some positive experiences with it. Anyway, so I'm about 75% healed from the physical therapy that I'm doing for my wrist. But one of the things that came out is that I've always had my back, I've always had a lot of tension. Sometimes you'll see me on the podcast, I'll go like this. It's because I've got a big knot right here that I just pretty much always hurts. And my whole back, my whole upper back is just this mass of knots and tension. And so the therapist took a video of my back and showed it to me, and I was like, I can see. Well, the reason that it's like that is not, I wasn't born that way. The reason it's like that is because I've walked around like this all my life, where I've had my shoulders, shrugged up, and basically I shortened those muscles to the point where they can't relax now. And,
oh, wow.
So I'm going to have to do some serious work on that over the next few months. That's going to be a big project. Actually, I'm going to work on stretching and digging into it with foam rollers and stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, it's like, if you're, and I've been feeling kind of stuck lately with Simple Programmer, and just feeling like I can't, I've things that I have been trying haven't really been working. And I'm realizing that a big part of the problem for me is that I've gotten I'm really like, I'm disconnected. I've never actually felt like I had a great sense for our specific audience, because we speak to a very like a subset of programmers. So it's hard to get to know the audience. It's hard to get to know the audience when I'm not like, John gets so much interaction with them, but I'm kind of like the guy behind the scenes. So I don't get that one-on-one interaction with people. So anyway, so I'm putting I'm making some serious changes to try to get myself more connected to the audience and getting more of that one-on-one interaction. Probably I'll be stepping out of the shadows a little bit more too in the process. But yeah, if I just keep doing like the results that I'm getting are the results I'm going to get with what I've been doing. So I've got to do something to break that cycle. So
yeah,
that's what I got.
Break that cycle.
Yep. So yeah, so I think
starting with the man in the mirror.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, that'll be a jarring transition from that into our theme song for the show, the wrap. So I think next week John will hopefully be back. Yeah, he should be back, and I think we might have a guest. So we had a couple somebodies that we were gonna invite. So
yeah.
All right. See ya.
See ya.